Squawk, squawk, fellow sorrowers. I've been meaning to do this video for a while. It's going to be in the same vein as the exposure of damage control that I've been trying to bring to light for you all in the music videos I've been covering recently, such as Blood and Rockets by the Claypool and Lennon Delirium, and Ludens by Bring Me the Horizon, both bands of which I've covered a video of each before. I will be doing others, but I felt they should be addressed because they're two in particular that are using damage control in almost every one of their videos. So those of you that haven't seen the music videos as of yet, just a brief summary. I'm trying to depict what's underneath and behind what they're showing and telling you. You know, they want you to focus, as I've said before, on Satanism, you know, the depiction of the devil, or at least the Baphomet. That's the scapegoat that they always go to. And as I always tell you, it's so much deeper, darker, depthful and dense than they're letting on. So I went inside myself and I was trying to conjure up any bands, any art. I don't want to say artists, because I mean musicians are artists. You know, you and I are artists. If you make videos, you're an artist. You know, if you write poetry, you're an artist. If you draw, paint, sculpt, write, direct, play an instrument, you're an artist. But nonetheless, semantics. I've made a little list here on my laptop of 5 bands, 5 truth researchers. You know, I don't like using the word truth researchers. 5 artists and 5 directors. Okay. Sure, I could go into 5 actors, 5 sculptors. It don't have to be 5. I don't know why I picked 5. 10 seemed a bit too long, and 5 seemed like just enough. But the point of this video and what I'm trying to get across, again, I'm always trying to find the shiniest. As a magpie, I look for the shiniest of subjects. Always looking for things that I haven't heard or seen be covered, and always trying to bring you more magpie feathers to put in your cap, more tools for your toolbox. Okay, as I try to do with the recent 3-part video on the machine and the cogs within it, and knowing you're not one of them, which people seem to really like, which made me feel like I was on the right track. Yeah, I was covering what I call holographics, you know, which is organic portals, empty seaters, human prison bars, NPCs. I call them holographics because they're hollow, and they are just graphics of this machine, part of the motherboard. We know who the mother is, don't we? Anyway, to the point, I digress. The reason I picked 5 of these certain compartments of expression through art is because I haven't seen anyone, heard or seen anyone else on YouTube bring a sense of hope to the subject matter of which I've covered many a time, as I'm sure you know, of when you realise that all your heroes are villains. Yeah, as I say, it's heartbreaking, but it breaks your heart a lot more if you don't know, because you can feel it, but you don't know it. You know what I'm saying? So, being a musician, I'll just start with bands. Hang on. So, I was going to do my top favourite bands, my top favourite artists, my top favourite truth researchers, my top favourite directors, but that won't, I don't think that will help you. It's not the point. Okay, so for example, when you find out who the sellouts are in all these different medias and mediums of art, I don't know about you, but I find it really hard to continue in my I find it very hard to continue listening to their music or watching their films, or does that make sense? But off the top of my head, just off the top of my head, not my favourite, but let's just take actors. There's a reason I haven't put them on there, because they're actors. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? But they don't speak for themselves, because their art is to lie. I'm not saying if you're an actor you're a liar, but acting is deception, right? The art of it. Anyway, for example, like when you, if you don't already, I'm sure you do, but I'll put it out there. When you find out who Kevin Spacey really is, Al Pacino, De Niro, trying to think of the greats, Anthony Hopkins, I mean, these individuals can act, right? They really can, and I'm sure you love a lot of films that they're in, as do I. As I said, just off the top of my head, through a few of the most famous ones out there, right? But I find it so hard now to watch some of my favourite films which have them in, and knowing what I know. I always felt it, but once you know, that they're part of the Saturnian Brotherhood, that they are sellouts, they are deceivers, very hard to watch their films. Same with bands, Same with bands. As I've said before, I try to go back to the source, the daddies. To me, that would be bands of the 60s and the 70s, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Doors, But them four in particular, so Saturnian, absolute agents to the core, source, centre. It's in their bones, right? They were just pawns. You see? So do you have that? So now when you listen to them, it don't have to be them, it can be any band, but once you know and then you listen to them, it's hard to separate the musicians from the music, you see, the actors from the films, the artists from the paintings / drawings / sculptures, the writers from the books, Stephen King, I've mentioned before, another one. I've got all these books. They were left to me by my father when he passed away. These ideas, I mean, knows what he's doing, right? But he's one of the worst. Stephen King's one of the worst. He's right in there. You see what I'm saying? So I suppose the main point of this video is, one, I'm gonna give you a few different bands, different directors. I'm gonna stay away from actors because it's so hard to tell, and different artists that, to my knowledge, to my wisdom, more importantly, haven't sold out. It's very hard to find them. I've spoke to Neil before about this, to Armageddon Consciousness, because as some of you may know who who watch his research, his studies, his work, his material, he's got such a good taste in music. Such a good taste in music. But at the same time, more than anyone I know, he's the best at showing you that they're all part of it. And I've asked him, you know, is there any bands, any musicians in particular that you know of that haven't sold their soul? You know, putting it frank, putting it blunt. It's very hard. It's very hard to tell, very hard to say. So yeah, on one hand, I'm going to try and give you that, because aside from him, I haven't seen anyone else do that, and I thought, you know, to me that would be a very positive way of overcoming the misery and the depression that you and I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but you and I'd imagine, go through on a daily basis once you know they're not who you thought they were. You know, starts at an early age, especially with me, because I always wanted to be a director, you know, and I've been watching films since I was 5, and yeah, so I had my heart invested in certain actors and directors, especially growing up, and then you realise who they really are. But I'd imagine bands are the main one, especially when you're growing up, when you're adolescent, pubescent, whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, so that's one side of it. I'm going to try and bring you some artists that, when you're feeling low on hope, faith and belief artistically in others, you can perhaps go to these, and if either they'll give you that boost, that oomph, because as far as we're aware, they're still real, or you can go to them knowing that they're full of shit just like the rest. I'll try not to swear too much. However, you know that they're telling you certain things that are giving you answers to the questions of what you're going through. Okay, I'll give you a few examples. So we'll start with bands here. Oh, that was the other side. Sorry, I didn't mention. The other side is, I'm going to give you a lot of shills as well, by the way. But the point is, as I always say, if you're aware, it will not scare. So it's okay to listen and watch certain bands. Okay, it's okay to listen and watch certain songs, films, you know, paintings, whatever it is, when you know and when you feel. Okay, it still means something to you, you know. So I don't know where this come from, but just again, quick example, just for anyone that's not quite getting it, not because of you, but because of me, because sometimes I find it hard to explain right, because I don't plan any of this. I know I've got notes here, but it's literally just 5 this, 5 that, 5 that. I don't usually do it. Off the top of my head would be like, okay, Rosemary's Baby, absolute masterpiece, right? Absolute classic. But we all know what that film's really about, and we all know what Roman Polanski's really about. See? Does that mean you shouldn't watch the film anymore? Does that mean if you're watching the film, then you're condoning the message of the film or the actions of the filmmaker? No, of course not. Not if you're aware. See? That's what I'm getting at. I haven't seen, heard or known any other truth researchers to do this yet, so I'm going to attempt it. So, as I said, we'll start with 5 bands first. Okay, so if you really want to know what's going on, if you really want to know what's going on within you and around you with this reality, here's a few bands that will give you the message, okay? They'll give you the message, but it's subtle, and that's how you know it's true, okay? So Mudvayne is one of my favourite bands, okay? Ryan Martini is also one of my favourite bass players. Yeah, I recently realised that they have sold out. They are a part of it, unfortunately. But I still love their music. I still listen to their music. And if you can't find any bands that ring true, or at least have the message of what you're going through, Mudvayne would be a prime one to listen to, in my opinion, my humble opinion. They're not political, but that's the point. Most political bands, straight away you sense it, you know they're a part of it, because they're spreading a certain message. Even back in the day, like the Who were considered political, the Doors were considered political, the Beatles were considered political, and they were all way into it, weren't they? You see, but they were too obvious with it. Even bands like Rage Against the Machine or Skunk Anansie, amazing bands, amazing songs. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, but they're part of it. Okay, they were pawns. They were being used to stir the nest. Okay, so yeah, Mudvayne, not political, but if you listen to the lyrics and you feel where they're coming from, there's a lot of esoteric, subliminal lyrics in regards to this false reality and the ones in control of it. It's all there. It's all there. Okay, moving on. Sixth are a more recent one I've been getting into. Again, they're math metal, the same as Mudvayne. And like Mudvayne, they send the message in the same way. It's very cryptic, but when you know and feel what you and I now know and feel, you'll sense it. You will. But they're telling you what's going on without really telling you what's going on. Okay. Mammal a little bit more obvious. They're sorry, I should have said Mudvayne are an American band. Sixth, I believe, are British. Mammal are Australian, possibly New Zealand, but I believe they're Australian. They are quite political, obviously political as well. You'll pick it up straight away. But nonetheless, Sixth and Mammal, I haven't, and I've researched, I haven't known them to sell out as of yet. No dirt on them, no flies on them. So them two in particular, I want to say Mudvayne because they're one of my favourite bands. These two I just really like, Sixth and Mammal. But these two, yeah, they're, innocent until proven guilty, they're squeaky clean. And they know what they're talking about, and they're telling you certain things that certain individuals such as you and me will click onto straight away. Okay. Moving on, System of a Down, very obvious one. Yeah, very political. But if you look past the obvious political message in their songs, they're telling you a lot in regards to the occult via biblical history. It's all in there. It really is. All these bands speak about the Black Mother in one way or another. That was an accident, but a nice one. Yeah, and last but not least, a Japanese band. See, I try and vary as well, rather than just sticking to one language, because you'll also hear the culture come out through bands from other countries. But yeah, Dir en Grey, which translates to gold and silver coin, I believe. I believe that's right. I think Dir is French, N is German and grey being English. Doing Grey, Japanese band, again one of my favourite bands, brilliant bass player. Obviously you might have to look the lyrics up for that, because they have some songs in English, but majority of them are Japanese. But it's more the feeling and the album art and whatnot. You once again, you could they're portraying and displaying everything that I teach or try to teach on this channel. It's all there, it really is. So yeah, if you're sick and tired of listening to bands that you know are just as evil as the subject matter of which they preach rather than teach, there's a few for you. See, I don't know, I know I keep saying this, I'm not trying to look for credence or anything, but I haven't seen this or heard this yet, you know, where someone's gone, well, try this, try that instead. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, okay, we'll move on to truth researchers. Just give me one moment. Okay, so like I said, this isn't meant to be a list of my favourite this, my favourite that, because majority of my favourite this and that, they're part of it. As I said, I don't feel that's going to help you, but this one's going to be a bit different, as I say. So we'll do 5 truth researchers that I have listed here. Again, see, it would be easy for me to say, okay, well, my 5 favourite truth researchers, I could do that too, that's easy. Like the same with the bands. So yeah, Mudvayne's one of my favourites, Doing Grey is, but System isn't, you know, Mammal isn't. American Head Charge is one of my favourite bands, you know, The Doors are one of my favourite bands. It just hurts to listen to them knowing what they were really all about. So yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do here. So you'll see what I mean with this next one, because this is going to be a little bit more controversial. So yeah, 5 truth researchers. Okay, be easy for me to say. Armageddon Consciousness, Truth Dog, Nicholson, 1969, I think. You get the point. At this stage, I'd imagine you know who you like and who you don't, and more importantly, who you connect with and who you don't, right? So this is a bit different. Stick with me and bear with me, okay? David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, Alex Jones, Hans Wormhat, and Thomas Sheridan. Now, before you click off this video, because I know, right? Like I said, this isn't a list of my favourite. This is not what I'm trying to educate you on. The reason I've picked these fucking sellout shill Saturnian agents deliberately is because, as I said, if you're aware, therefore it won't scare, you listen to them now that you know and you feel, yeah, if you listen to any of them, you will hear the truth in the lies, because they lie like we breathe, as we know, okay, especially David Icke and Jordan Maxwell and Alex Jones, wow, yeah. However, you listen to all their deception, and every now and then they'll chuck a truth in there, okay, and if you can discern that truth, it'll only back up what you already know and feel. But it's there, I'm telling you, it's there, okay, it's there. And as I already said, there's no shame or blame in listening to truth researchers that you know are shills. The same way there's no shame or blame in listening to musicians that you know have sold out and etc. Not if you know, not if you feel, okay? That's different. It's an entirely different thing. You know, we can't afford to attach that stuff to ourselves in that way, you know, because if that's the case, then that's like saying, all right, that's like saying, all right, I watch the BBC News every day, looking out for things to cover. But if we're going to go down that route, like most organic portals would, then that means, well, I watch BBC News, so I'm obviously agreeing with it because I watch it, right? It doesn't work like, it doesn't have to work like that, okay? What do I always tell you? The most important tool in your toolbox, most important magpie feather in your cap is going to be to understand evil, okay? How do you think psychopathologists get in the mind of psychopaths? They have to understand them, yeah? You're not agreeing with it, but you understand it, you see? And if you have high sensitivity, such as myself, you know I don't like to use the word empath, it's just too easy to label, same as psychopath. But if you have that high sensitivity, as I've covered before, that in itself can make you feel like if you try and understand, majority of the time when you're that empathic, you don't have a choice. When you relate to others, you're empathizing with them, but it doesn't mean you agree, okay? How do you think that I can cover all this dirty, gritty, shitty stuff in regards to the sodomy of children? And I have to put myself in a very horrible, terrible, evil place to understand the mindset of why they are doing this to the children in order to try and save the children. But of course I don't agree with any of it, but I have to go, oh, hang on, okay, so you know, you have to go, right, this is why, okay, so how would that make them feel? What makes them feel that that's okay? Boom, boom, boom. It can really mess your head up if you don't do it the right way. But one of the things that make you do it the wrong way is to go, well, if I can sympathise or empathise with what a paedophile or a murderer or a rapist, or then that means you're condoning, you agree. No, don't fall into that, okay? Sorry I digressed again, but I felt that was important to back up this work. So yeah, every 10 subjects that David Icke, for example, will throw out, 9 of them be lies, 1 will be truth, and that truth will be a very important one, usually in regards to Saturn. That's why I listen to him, see, for my own research. And yeah, you know, your psychology is very easy to read, you know. Just at the end of a subject, he'll bring his voice up and make it like it's a protest and we need to fight back. Even sheds a tear on stage, you know. But you know, right? If you know, it's okay. It's okay, all right? But that's his trick. If you know the trick, you know how the magic trick works, then you see the fundamentals behind it, right? The mechanics behind it, and then you can suss it out. Because these ones in particular, like David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, Alex Jones, they wouldn't be put on and they wouldn't be at the status that they are if they wasn't hiding something very important, you see? Yeah, so Jordan Maxwell's another, his little magic trick that he does at the end of all the lies that he gives, he'll throw a truth in there, and then he'll always say at the end, this is his magic trick, he'll always say, do the research, you know, go look it up. That's traumatic karma. Because if you don't do it, you don't go look it up, you don't do the research and find out he's full of shit, that's on you. See, they all got their little tricks, but if you know them, you see there's no rabbit in the hat, just the hat, and the hat is the truth. You see, Alex Jones again. I mean, I don't listen to him, but one of the truth researchers that I do consider to be genuine, that I've mentioned before, Bill, he's always decrypting and decoding and dissecting and analysing Alex Jones. But then he's American, so that's why, you see, Alex Jones is like the American David Icke, isn't it? But yeah, Alex Jones does it more pictorially. It'd be what he shows in the background of his InfoWars, you know. That's his magic trick. Hans Wormhat, not as big as the three above, but Hans Wormhat I used to listen to a lot. But yeah, he's pushing a certain Christian agenda, which is, I only throw him into this mix because his little trick is he's very good at damage control. This one, very good at damage control. I mean, you'll notice he'll never ever mention anything to do with the Saturnium. Never ever mention anything to do with reptilians. He covers trans investigations primarily, and flat Earth and fake animals. And there's a lot of truth in what he says, but it's all deflection. It's all misdirection also. So that's his trick. And last but not least, Thomas Sheridan. Now, I grew up listening to Thomas Sheridan. I was very cultivated by his lectures on psychopathy, of which I believe even to this day are very true. They're very good. But then he moved on to what he's really all about, which is the practice of paganism and druid ancient magic. Again, I have nothing against magic or practitioners of it, only the agenda, the strategy, the deed behind it. Okay, but he's another and he's a hard one for me to sort of expose, because there's certain things that he says that I know are true. There's certain things that he says that I can't believe he says, because you can see in his eyes he knows it's completely false. But yeah, his little magic trick is, I mean, you'll notice he'll never ever mention a creator in any sense of the word. But yeah, he covers for the Saturnian Brotherhood a lot.